Happiness is an essential life skill that you need to learn if you want to be happier, healthier, less stressed, and live longer. And I say it's essential as your level of happiness has a direct impact on your health and your life expectancy. So, in other words, your happiness, what's going on up here in your head, has a direct impact on your body. There is a really strong mind-body connection. And we are all in for a big treat today, as I have a special guest who proves this mind-body connection with science. And my guest is Dr. David Hamilton. And I'll just do a quick intro. David, besides being a really lovely, cool guy, and you'll have to guess where he comes from when he starts speaking. But anyway, David has a PhD in organic chemistry, spent 4 years in the pharmaceutical industry developing drugs for cardiovascular disease and cancer. Pretty impressive. And he was inspired by the placebo effect. So he basically left the industry to write books and educate people on how they can harness their mind and emotions to improve their health. So now he's the author of 10 books, including The Little Book of Kindness, how your mind can heal your body, I Heart Me, and my all-time favorite one of his is The 5 Side Effects of Kindness. And David, David is also featured in that fantabulous documentary Heal, which is available on Netflix if you haven't seen it. And David is an advocate for kindness and is working passionately to help inspire a kinder world. And he's even been called the Kindness Tsar. So welcome, David.
Oh, thank you very much. What a lovely introduction, Tessa.
Well, I've been stalking you for a while. Yes, and one of the things, David, that I love about your work is that you prove this mind-body connection. You prove it with science, but you explain it in a way that is just so much fun. I mean, you make science fun, and you explain it in a way that's fun and also easy to understand. So on that note, I'm going to throw you not under the bus. I'm going. It's not a good analogy. I'm going to give you a loaded question, and it's a quote from your book, How Your Mind Can Heal Your Body. And in that book, you say, mind and emotions impact the physical state of the body. So my question to you is, how does it do that? I feel an emotion. What happens in my body? What's the connection? And how do you know that too?
Right. Well
there we are.
Thanks. nice question. Well, on a really obvious way, this is one of the ways that I find that you can explain the mind-body connection, and it even makes sense to people who would ordinarily be skeptical.
Yes, there are people.
Sometimes when we used to say the mind-body connection, the skeptics would come out and forth, there's no such thing. But in actual fact, we've known about this for a long, long time, because it's well established in science that when you feel stressed, and let me draw your attention to the word feel. So your question was about mind and emotions. So when you feel stressed, it is the feelings of stress that generate in your brain and in your body what we call stress hormones. So things like adrenaline and cortisol, they don't just appear miraculously by themselves. They are produced because you feel stressed. And then all the physical effects of adrenaline and cortisol, changes in blood movement around the body, even constriction of the arteries, these kind of things, these happen because you're feeling stressed, i.e. a feeling. So we've known that for a long time. And whenever people are skeptical of the mind-body connection, that's the first thing I point out, that it's a feeling of stress that generates this physical effect. And
people start sweating, don't they? I mean, I'm sweating because it's hot here, but people feel stress and they have that physical reaction of, well, they, as you say, they can feel their, heart beating, sweating, they feel it. So
and that's not that's not because of a particular situation they're in. That's because of how they feel about the situation that they're in. So the situation is largely independent. It's how we feel about it. So let's take a positive example. Let's look for a positive feeling. Let's talk about the feeling that you feel when you be kind to someone or you show someone compassion or empathy. Now that's a very different feeling. Now that also has very profound physical effects. And as you know, I've written quite a lot about this, but when that feeling, that genuine warm feeling that you get when you be kind or show empathy or compassion, psychologists now actually refer to it as elevation. It's an elevated state, and that's how they define it. But that state, rather than producing stress hormones, because you're not feeling stressed, they actually generate what I call kindness hormones. And there is such a thing. The main kindness hormone is a hormone that we've known about for a long time. It's oxytocin. It plays a big role in reproduction, breastfeeding. That much we've known for a long time. But it's one of its major roles in the body is to protect your heart and to protect the cardiovascular system. The way that it does it is, let's put it in the context of being kind. So you be kind, or you show empathy or compassion, and that feels nice. It's a feeling. We're talking about mind and emotions now. It's a feeling. And that feeling generates in your brain and in your heart copious volumes of oxytocin. Now, when it floats around in the brain, it makes you like people more. It makes you trust people more. It makes you feel a connection with people. When it's in the heart and circulating around the body, it actually softens the walls of your arteries and it makes them go and expand.
Right.
And so
it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's the opposite of stress hormones, which actually constrict the arteries. In fact, one of the ways that you can heal a wound faster in trauma is to put an adrenaline swab on it, because adrenaline, like a stress hormone, will constrict arteries. So the kindness hormone actually expands arteries, and so it softens the walls of the arteries and expands them, and that causes a reduction in blood pressure.
Wow.
At the same time, it also acts like a little sweeping brush, and it sweeps out of the arteries some of the really dangerous substances that we know in cardiovascular research that lead to heart disease. So what you're overall getting is some tremendously positive physical effects on your heart and on your arteries of a feeling.
It's amazing.
Kind,
yeah.
And it feels nice, and it has all these physical effects.
But people don't really think of this. So being kind and having that feeling of kindness, which is also, one of those happy feelings, I said that, happiness is an essential life skill, because if you want to be healthy and you want to live longer, because obviously the opposite of when you were talking about, constriction and stress, it has a huge impact on your health and your life expectancy. So go out there and give kindness or be happy, and it gives you the opposite. It's just, it's not really a well-known fact, is it?
It's not. And one of the things that I've been really, really pushing out there, I do a lot of videos and a lot of blogs and all that, and I speak a lot publicly. And one of the major points I'm making in some of these videos and talks and blogs is that kindness, or the feelings that are produced through kindness and compassion and empathy, are physiologically the opposite of stress. So almost everything that we know about stress, and you mentioned, lifespan, how long a person lives is correlated with the levels of stress in the body. So in a really obvious way, one of the ways to prolong lifespan, it sounds kind of corny, is actually to be kind. And the key is consistently kind.
Yes.
Because it's not just one or two elements of stress that shorten lifespan, it's consistency of the stress. So when we turn that around and have consistency of generosity of spirit and kindness and compassion, what we're actually doing is cancelling out the physiological effects of stress. And one of the studies scientists actually did is they found that when levels of kindness consistently were increased in a person's daily life, levels of stress came down proportionately. And it didn't mean that they weren't in stressful situations, because we know that life happens. What it actually showed is that kindness, or the feelings generated by kindness and compassion, were somehow neutralizing the physiological effects of stress, almost psychologically taking the sting out of them.
Wow.
So cancelling out many of the negative effects of stress, and therefore just by default, we're taking away that shortening of lifespan, if you like.
Yeah, so kindness, which is like generating a happy emotion, it's like a stress management technique. And the thing is, what's so cool about it is it's free.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's free. I mean, you can just do it. And it not only are you making yourself happier, improving your health, living longer, but you're passing it on to other people as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
I even teach this as a stress management tool for corporations. And I teach them a couple of like kindness meditations, but also encourage them. One of the great outcomes of one of the companies that I worked with was that they were so taken by not only the fact they could practice a little meditation, a little 5-minute exercise privately, but they could also make efforts in their teams. So what actually happened in this company after a few meetings is they generated teams within the company, and each team would be empowered to find its own way of increasing kindness or the spirit of kindness within that team. So it wasn't like a global thing where the CEO said, from now on, we're all going to be kind and this is how we're going to do it, because every part of the company is different. But smaller teams were set up, and their role was to find out how can we as a team increase the spirit of kindness within their teams. And it had a massively positive effect on the company, massive reduction in stress levels, simply because they're trying to promote the spirit of kindness in the way that they do their jobs.
Isn't that
great?
And
I thought that's a major score.
It is, because not only did it reduce their stress levels, but I'm sure it reduced their, being off sick as well.
Absolutely,
I mean, the roll-on effects, this whole thing of being kind, being happy, just the impact on your health and the impact, on your health, I mean, you even, David, I know for a fact too, if you are kind and you generate these emotions, it actually makes you look younger, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've been doing this for 79 years.
But it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, in a really obvious way, if feeling stressed, as we well know, can physically age the body, the appearance of age on the body, just by default, being kind by cancelling that has a very positive effect. But in and of itself, when the kindness hormone gets into the skin, it reduces substantially some of the key substances that age the skin. Scientists did a study where they took skin cells and they were monitoring the levels of things called free radicals, which are some of the major players in aging of the skin. And they're also major players in aging of the brain. They play a role in Alzheimer's, they play a role in memory loss, they play a role in wrinkling of the skin. And scientists were monitoring this process in the skin. Then they decided to introduce the kindness hormone into the skin. And amazingly, what happened is the levels of these dangerous substances dramatically reduced in proportion to the amount of the kindness hormone that was in the skin cells. And here's the thing, you can't eat it in an energy drink, you can't drink it, you can't drink it. The only way to get that substance in the skin is to produce it through how you feel, through your behaviour.
Yeah, isn't it? It's just wonderful.
Yeah, so kindness is physically causing a slowing down of the aging of skin.
Yeah, it has so many benefits, doesn't it? I mean, really, and it's a great way, like in your book, it can actually heal your body. You can heal, you can heal your body with it. I'm so excited about it, because on my own journey, my husband died, and I just plummeted, and my health went. I was stressed. I was drinking too much New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. My brain, I had brain fog. I just couldn't think. But as I got back on my journey, and as I focused on happiness. I used happiness to get me out of it. My health came back. My energy came back. I don't drink so much. I still do drink, but all those things. Amazing impact. So tell me though, David, what happens if and this is, I think this is fascinating. What happens when you are around people though, who are being negative and, you know, not, and being unkind? What happens to you when you're around those people?
Well, it can go one of two ways.
Yes.
And one of the first things that can happen is something called emotional contagion. And emotional contagion is exactly what it sounds like. It's the contagiousness of emotions. And unless we understand how to protect ourselves from negative emotional contagion, then very often what happens is we catch through our nervous system, and therefore it affects how we feel. We start to catch negative emotions from people. And the way it works is a bit the way, is very similar to how young children and babies learn. They learn through imitation. So they learn through seeing what you're doing. Now that's because in the brain, there's a circuit in the brain called the mirror neuron system, or MNS. And what it does is it mirrors what you see or what you're taking in through your senses, and it replicates identically in you. It mirrors it. So for example, if I was to do that, and we took a brain scan of your brain right now, then you'll find that your brain is mirroring, is active in the finger regions. In other words,
really?
Your brain is copying, and it's processing exactly what I'm doing as if you're doing it. And if we had to hook up your finger muscles to little devices that measure micro amounts of muscle stimulation, as you watch me doing this, your finger muscles are actually being stimulated right now. And if we measured them, scientists have actually done this and found that whatever movement you pay attention to stimulates your own muscles. Now, let's say people are being negative. Now, the major muscle that's moving is their facial muscles. And so as they're displaying negativity on their face, not even by what they're saying, but because it's a physical expression of how they feel, then what happens is we pick that up and our brain mirrors it. So we start to frown, and this muscle here creases. It's called the corrugator supercilii, and it creases, the jaw tightens, and then we start to feel the physical symptoms of stress and frustration and agitation. So that's what emotional contagion is.
So we essentially pick up their emotions. They just come straight into us.
We pick up their emotions.
Yeah.
Now, it's very easy to protect yourself, and the first way to do it is knowing that it happens. And the moment you're aware that it happens, it's very easy to change it, because the major way that emotional contagion enters into the body is through the face. So all you have to do is make sure that your face isn't mirroring them. The simple way to do it, when you notice it's happening, is just to go, and just manipulate your facial muscles. You know, you can pretend that you're rubbing your eyes or something, but what you're really doing intentionally is you're manipulating your facial muscles. That immediately stops the incoming emotional contagion. In that moment, what you have to do is just straighten your spine, drop your shoulders, take a breath, and become fully conscious of your physiological state. And as long as you maintain your physiological state, within 2 minutes, the emotional contagion just goes. And now you're very much in charge of your state. And now what's happening, if you can then use some of your own skills to generate your own emotional state, then you start infecting them. Emotional contagion goes the other way. And now you're infecting them with your feelings. Rather than them infecting you with negativity, you begin to infect them with positivity.
Right, because of your body and your face.
And so as you're expressing your positivity, then their brain is picking up your facial expressions and your body language. And so the signal is going the other way.
And it's kind of like a fun game, isn't it?
It really is. I've done it loads and loads of times. One of the first times I did it, I found myself bursting out laughing because I couldn't believe how simple a thing I'd actually done and how much that had changed the situation. And none of the people in the room had any idea what I had just done.
So we started talking about, you know, your own mind affecting your body, but you've also got other people's minds doing effectively the same thing. And you can do it to other people. Wow.
And you can do it positively to other people.
Oh, wow.
So it's a simple little tool that anyone can use at any time. It's really quite simple how it works, and it's quite clever.
It's fabulous, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the mind body, oh my goodness, I think just being, you know, aware of what you've covered today, just having that awareness, I think that's a big step for people, isn't it? Having that awareness.
It's very powerful because there's practical ways that you can harness it. And I
Yes.
think once people understand how I can harness it, not just even through being kind and generate, because every time you generate that positive feeling, even in your imagination, by thinking of kindness and compassion, by thinking about people in your life and feeling gratitude or
Yes.
empathy towards them,
Yes. Enjoy.
that has that physical effect on the heart. It also relaxes the nervous system. And one thing I didn't mention is it causes an anti-inflammatory effect throughout the body. So that's really well-established science. And that's very empowering, because you can do that in any moment of the day. You can just stop and say, I'm going to take 2 or 3 minutes just to conjure up a feeling. Maybe it's a memory of a time when someone showed me kindness and compassion, or I showed it to them, a tender moment. And in that moment, you dilate your arteries, drop your blood pressure, create a system-wide, body-wide anti-inflammatory effect. Imagine
Wow.
if you did that 3 or 4 times a day. The benefits to the body are phenomenal.
Wow. So if you had pain, if you were in pain, that would help with pain?
Well, scientists actually tested the anti-inflammatory side. They got people with chronic back pain, and they taught them that one of the kindness meditations. It was actually a Tibetan Buddhist one called the loving kindness.
Oh,
And
I love that one. Yes.
Yeah, and they found that it had a very positive effect on people, better actually than people who were just managing their pain through drugs. It actually caused a reduction in pain and lower back pain simply through a course where they practiced daily 5 or 10 minutes of the loving kindness meditation. And the reason it works is because it causes a body-wide anti-inflammatory effect.
I love that. It's just like you could just say, if someone says, what are you going to, you say, I'm busy for the next 5 minutes, I'm just doing a body anti-inflammatory wipe.
Absolutely. Yeah. And and the science is rock solid as well.
Yes.
It's actually known as the inflammatory reflex. And it's the action of the vagus nerve on the inflammatory process in the body. Basically, as the activity of the vagus nerve increases, the levels of inflammation decrease.
Yes.
And it's a very well-established piece of science called the inflammatory reflex. What's really interesting is one of the ways to increase the activity of the vagus nerve, and therefore to reduce inflammation, is a practice of compassion. The vagus nerve is often referred to as the caretaking nerve. Its activity is correlated by a person's consistent experience of empathy and compassion.
Wow, this is just...
Scientists have actually measured an increase in vagus nerve activity as people practice the loving kindness meditation.
Wow, it is fascinating, because I say to people that, happiness is an essential life skill if you want to be, happier, healthier, less stressed, live longer. But people, it just doesn't compute, because we're not taught that. We're not taught that what you've just been saying about kindness, which is an aspect of happiness. It's just completely new, and it's free, and it's easy. It's not hard.
Exactly. I know. It's as simple as that.
Oh, it's great. So you've blown my mind. Every time I listen to you read your stuff, you blow my mind, but I'm sure you've blown the mind of our listeners. So for people who are watching, listening to this, what would you suggest as an action that they can take to really get benefit from what you've been sharing?
An action to get benefit of what I'm sharing is to frequently look for opportunities to be kind and do it. But in the process of doing it, notice how that makes you feel. Bring your attention, notice how that makes you feel. And the moment you notice how it makes you feel, it actually activates some of the biochemistry of kindness in the body.
By noticing it, but the actual act generates some. But you're saying by also not only acting it, but noticing it as well.
Amplifies the effects.
Oh, it amplifies it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what it also does is it brings your attention to how that feels, and it's easier then to replicate the feeling.
Right. So that's like a double whammy, so to speak.
A double whammy. What you're training yourself, you're training your brain circuits is to how to feel that feeling that comes through kindness and compassion, because it's the feeling that generates the physical effects. So by noticing the feeling, you're training yourself how to experience that feeling, and that's what I mean by the amplification of it.
Right.
It's the feeling itself. So by drawing attention to the feeling expands.
Great. And because it feels good, we tend to then do more of it.
It becomes addictive almost.
Yes. You can actually become addicted to kindness. You can become addicted to kindness.
Yeah. And think of the benefits that's bringing to other people. You're not doing this because you're trying to make yourself feel good. First and foremost, we're being kind because it's the right thing to do.
Yes.
But the side effect is that it makes you feel good, and it has all these physiological effects.
Wow. So I am sure everybody listening, watching to this now wants to connect with you. So how would you, how do they connect with you, get more of you? Yeah, what do they do?
Well, my website is drdavidhamilton.com, and I put regular blogs on there. I also have, on my courses section, I have a monthly personal development club where I do a live talk online every month.
And I'm on that. I'm on that.
Oh, you're on that as well, yes.
3 a.m. It's 3 a.m. my time.
Oh, your time, yeah. I try to find a time for the live that fits with the majority. I look at where people live on the thing, and the majority of people, I try to find a live time.
Oh, I know. I'm the odd one. I don't mind, but I'll get up for you any time of the day or night, David.
Oh, that's great. I've actually a new video just about to go on how your mind can influence your immune system. So that's every month, put a new video on the site, a new training video. And then on my social media, I post regularly on Instagram, on Facebook, and Twitter. And I also add videos to that where I'm teaching new concepts, and I put like inspiration in blogs and stuff. So I'm very active in that area. So there's lots of my stuff flying around.
That's great. Oh, well, thank you so much for the generosity and the kindness with your sharing. You would have made a huge difference to a lot of people. I know that for sure. You're an inspiration. Thank you.
That's very kind of you, Tessa. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you this morning.